So, welcome, guys. My name is Kyle Summerford. I'm really glad you're here today. Before we get into anything, I just want to take a second to acknowledge you. You showed up on a Wednesday afternoon when your inbox is probably full, your schedule's packed, and there are probably 15 other things you could be doing right now. And you showed up anyway, and that tells me something about you already. So let's make sure this hour is worth every single minute of your time. Okay. And today we're talking about the AI shift that is already happening in dental leadership. And I'm going to be direct with you from the very jump. This is not a conversation about whether AI is coming to your dental practice. That conversation really is over. It is coming. And the only question left is what position you are in when it gets there. So we have a lot to cover. We have 2 live demos today and it's based on real data. Look at something I built specifically for a dental practice that I think is going to change how you see what is possible. And I'm going to tell you about something I've been building for the last 3 years that I believe is going to matter for your career more than almost anything else you could do this year. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's go. Okay, so before we get into anything, I want to know who is in the room with me today. Okay, here's what I find every time I do one of these webinars: the room is never one thing, right? There are people who have never opened ChatGPT in their life. There are people who opened it once, got something useless, and never went back. And then there are people who use it every day, but feel like they are still not getting what they need out of it, right? All three of those people are exactly who this webinar is for. So I want you to go ahead and just give me a raise of the hand right now in the chat. And just let's raise kind of one at a time, right? So I want you to raise your hand right now if you've never used ChatGPT or Claude, not once. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. And perfect. Number two, if you have tried it a few times, but you did not get great results. Yep. As expected. As expected. Okay. And number three, if you use AI regularly, but you want a dental specific system, something built for the work you actually do. Perfect. Okay. All right. So I was watching the chat, guys. And so I'm not going to call you out by name, right? It's just for me to get an understanding of where people in our room are starting from. And I love it. We've got all three people in the room, and I knew we would. Now, here's what I want you to hear before we go any further. No matter which of you raised your hand, you are exactly where you need to be. Because today is not about where you are starting, it's about where you're going. And by the end of this hour, every person in this room is going to see AI differently than they did when they walked in. Okay? So let me tell you a little bit about where I come from so you know who you are spending the next hour with. Over 2 decades in dental practice management. I know that's a long time to be in this industry, and some of you probably are right there with me. I want you to know where I started because I did not start at the top, not even close. I started as a recall clerk in a dental practice making minimum wage, answering phones, doing recalls, chasing patients who had not been back in 18 months or more, and trying to get them back in the chair. I didn't come from a dental family or background. I didn't have a roadmap. I just showed up and I did the work. And somewhere along the way, someone believed in me before I fully believed in myself. I had a mentor named Mary, and she saw something in me before I saw it in myself, and she pushed me forward. Now, I would not be standing here without that or sitting. And a big part of why I do what I do today is to be that person for someone else. I worked my way up and to practice manager. I oversaw multi-practice practices and private practices, PPO practices, Medicaid practices, fee for service, you name it. I've worked inside all of them. And I know what it feels like to be the person who's carrying the whole practice on their back with absolutely no credit and no roadmap. I still manage a New York City dental practice a couple days a week, and that is not a talking point. It really matters because when I tell you something works in a dental office, I can actually say that this is not theory and this is what I live. So I founded our dental office managers community, which you guys are all members, back in 2016. Of course, we're now 25,000 dental managers strong, one of the largest communities in the country. I also served as editorial director at Dentistry IQ. I'm the president of DOMA, which is the Dental Office Managers Alliance, and I built the dental AI standard because when I looked around 3 years ago, there was no standard for dental teams and AI. Nobody had built one, so I decided to. And that's who I am, and everything I'm about to show you today really came from 3 years of doing this inside of a real dental practice. Okay, it's not a research project, it's real practices, real scenarios, and it really is real results that I'm going to share with you guys here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Now, here's some data I want you to sit with for a second. Okay. Now, we surveyed 1,067 members inside our group. These are real members, real practices with real answers. This was not a vendor survey. A lot of you participated, which I greatly appreciate that. People who are doing this work every single day, right? That's who showed up and answered. And 83% of them said that they had already tried AI. 83%. That number surprised me even when I first saw it because we talk about AI like it's still coming, like it's still coming, like it's a thing that's still coming. But it's the reality is it's already here. And most of the people in your community have already tried it. Now, with that being said, most of them have walked away frustrated. You want to know why? Here's what they said. These are some of the reasons. They were not able to express what they wanted clearly. The response was not what they were hoping for, meaning the outcome. And the outcome or the response back from AI was very generic. And the other one that's a big issue is that it had no memory of them when they went back to ChatGPT to ask a follow-up question. Now, by a show of hands, does that sound familiar? Yes, okay, exactly. So, have you opened ChatGPT, asked it something dental, and got something back that looked like it was written for a generic business or maybe a patient? I know I have, right? And so you're not alone. So that's really almost everyone's first experience. But here's the thing, though, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say in the first 20 minutes of this webinar. That is not an AI problem. That is a foundation problem. The tool is not broken. The approach is broken, and that is fixable. 100% fixable, and that is exactly what today is about. I'm going to show you something that no one in dental is talking about right now, and I really mean that. I've been in dental rooms for over 2 decades, and I've never heard anyone have this conversation. Okay? 87% of dental office managers believe AI certification commands higher pay. 87% of your peers believe that what you know about AI is going to matter for what you earn. Here's what the data shows us. Without AI certification, the average dental office manager's salary sits around $52,000 a year. With DOMA AI certification, that number projects to $68,000. That's a $16,000 gap. Okay, $16,000 a year. Now, let me say that again because I want it to land. $16,000 a year. It's not a rounding error. That is a car payment. That is a vacation. That is a significant portion of your kid's college fund. That is real money. And here is what creates that gap. It's not magic, it's proof, right? When you can prove that you know something your peers cannot prove yet, you have negotiating power. That is what a credential does, and that is what a verified standard does. You see, it takes something and puts evidence behind it. And we'll come back to that number. I want you to keep that in your head. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, okay, Kyle, those numbers are from your survey, right? That's from our dental office managers community. How do I know that is representative, fair? Look, I respect the skepticism, okay? So let me show you what the rest of the world is saying. Now, PwC, which is Price Waterhouse Coopers, if you haven't heard of them, they're located here in New York City. They analyzed 1 billion job postings. Lightcast analyzed 1.3 billion job postings. These are not small samples. These are two largest workforce data sets that exist. And here's what they found. Workers with one AI skill are seeing a 28% wage increase. That is one skill, one, just one. You learn to use AI in your role at a meaningful level, and your earning potential goes up 28%. Two or more AI skills, and that number jumps to 43%. In industries that are AI exposed, the wage growth is sitting at 56%. Now, here's what I want you to connect. The $16,000 gap we identified in dental is not an outlier. Okay, it's not a fluke. It is exactly what the rest of the world is already experiencing in every industry that is being touched by AI, which is really all of them at this point. The difference is every other industry already has a standard. They have a benchmark, a way to verify that you actually know what you say. Finance has certifications, healthcare has certifications, technology has certification. There are entire industries built around verifiable credentials. Okay. But dental has never had that, not for AI, not for this specific skill set that is changing everything right now up until now. Now, here is what I want you to think about for a second. And I want you to really think about this, not just hear it, actually picture it. Think about what happens before the doctor walks into into the operatory for the first patient tomorrow morning. You get in early. You always probably get in early, right? We show up on time or earlier, because if you do not, the day starts without you and things get hectic. And by 9 a.m., you are already behind. You sit down, you look at your desk, and there you are. And there goes those appeal letters from yesterday. The ones you started at 4:30 because that was the first quiet moment you had. The ones you got through half of before something needed and someone before someone else needed you and you never got back to them, right? They're still sitting there waiting for you again. And you know what they need to say. You know exactly what clinical language to use. You know which payer is going to push back and which one might approve it if you frame the necessity correctly. You have that knowledge, it's in your head. But getting it out of your head and onto paper in a format a payer will actually read and respond to takes 45 minutes on a good day, right? And when no one is interrupting you or needing you for something. And then there's the pre-authorization narratives. Maybe your practice is submitting these, maybe you're not. But you submitted it last week for the patient who needs the bone graft. You wrote it in 5 minutes, and at the end of a long day, when you were running on empty and the clinical detail was thin, you're not very confident it had everything the payer needed to see. And now you're waiting and hoping, and the reactivation list, which is who knows how long, is sitting there, right? Patients who've not been back in more than a year, you need to reach out to. A personalized message converts better than a generic postcard. But the problem is personalizing 47 messages one at a time for all these patients that are sitting on your outstanding treatment list is going to take a lot of time. And that's not happening today, right? It was not happening yesterday. It's on the list, and the list is not getting any shorter. And how about the SOPs for the new hire that's starting Monday? She's going to walk in, she's going to need to learn how this office runs. And that knowledge is stuck in your head, all of it. Not on paper, not in a training document, nowhere she can access it when you are tied up with a patient situation or on the phone with Cigna about a denied claim. Okay? That time does not disappear. It just rolls over to tomorrow, and tomorrow rolls over again. And at some point, you stop calling it a backlog and you just call it a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So, an experienced office manager spends up to 2 hours every single day on written communication that AI can draft in minutes. 2 hours every day. That's a long time. And here's what those 2 hours actually cost. Okay. They're not coming from nowhere. They're coming from patient follow up, from same day case acceptance conversations that never happened because you were writing, from the reactivation calls that could fill in next week's schedule, from the morning huddle prep that did not happen because there was no time. That is the real price, not just your stress, but the practice's production. Now, I want to speak directly to any practice owners that might be sitting here with us watching today. And I also want to give every office manager in this room something you could bring back to your doctor, because sometimes the argument for investing in your team lands better when it's framed in production terms. Now, here's the math, okay? When your office manager is spending 45 minutes on an appeal letter that AI can draft in 30 seconds, she or he is not on the phone following up on unscheduled treatment. That unscheduled treatment is sitting in your system. Patients who said they needed to think about it, patients who needed to check their insurance, patients who intended to call back and never did. That is revenue sitting in your schedule waiting to be converted. And nobody is making that call because the appeal letter is still not done, right? When your front desk is drafting patient reactivation messages one by one because it's tailored by patient's treatment, right? They're not converting same day openings. You had a cancellation at 2 o'clock. Someone called 10 minutes before the appointment. And instead of being on the phone working the reactivation list to fill that chair, your front desk is manually typing out individual messages because the batch does not exist yet. So when SOPs do not exist, every team transition costs you 3 to 4 weeks of productivity. The person who knew how you run this office might be gone, and the new person is going to figure it out by trial and error, slowly. So while you're watching and correcting and re-explaining things, you have explained probably hundreds of times. The math is very simple. Time spent on tasks AI can handle is time not spent on the work that actually moves production. And it's not a technology argument, it's really an operations argument. And every practice owner in this room understands operations. AI does not replace your team, it gives your team their time back to do the work that actually matters. That's it. That's really the entire argument here. So, here's what I want you to understand about where this is all headed. Okay. Your dentist is going to adopt AI. That decision is already made, not by your dentist specifically, but by the industry, by the technology, by the vendor reps who are calling every dental practice in the country right now pitching AI powered tools, by the DSOs who are already implementing it, by the study clubs and CE courses and the dental conferences where AI is the topic of pretty much every keynote speaker at this point. Your dentist is going to adopt AI. The question is not whether, the question is when. And the question behind that is who in your practice is going to be the person who understands it well enough to lead it. Here is the reality I see playing out in practices across the country. The doctor hears about some AI tool at a dental conference, comes back excited, says, "We're going to start using this," and everyone looks around the room at each other. Nobody knows what to do. I've been there, right? And nobody has a framework. Nobody has been trained, and the implementation stalls, or it gets handed to whoever is most comfortable with technology, which may or may not be you. You've been the one carrying this practice. You've been the one solving problems nobody else could solve. You've been the one who figures it out when everything breaks at once. This is your moment. This is the moment where the person who saw it coming and prepared for it steps into a leadership position that was not possible before this technology existed. This is how you get credit for what you already know. And this is how you make the invisible visible. And the credential proves it. So Before we get into the demos, I want to make sure that we are all working with the same definition of what AI actually is. Because honestly, there is a lot of noise out there and there's a lot of hype. There are a lot of headlines about robots taking jobs, and you might be seeing these things on social media and how AI is writing everything and nobody knowing what is real anymore, right? So let me cut through all of that for a second. AI is not a robot. It is not replacing your front desk. It is not coming for your job. I want to be really clear about that. And I'm going to explain why that is true in a way that I think will stick with you. So, at its core, AI is pattern recognition. That's it. That is the whole thing. It was trained on an enormous amount of data. Literally everything that's been written on the internet: medical journals, insurance policy documents, legal briefs, customer service manuals, patient communication guides, textbooks, you name it, all of it. And through that training, it learned patterns: how sentences are structured, how arguments are made, how a formal letter differs from a casual one. Now, here's the analogy I always use, and I want you to really hear this one. When a new patient calls your practice and tells you they have Delta Dental PPO, you already know what questions to ask. Which plan are they on? What's the claims address, right? Are they on Premier or PPO? What is the group number? Who's the policy holder? You don't have to think about that anymore. You built that knowledge through years of repetition, through hundreds of those phone calls, through making mistakes and learning from them, through figuring out that Delta has multiple plan structures and the benefits vary significantly between them. You built that expertise. No one handed it to you. You earned it through time and experience. Now, AI did the same thing. Across everything ever written, it saw enough examples of letters and insurance correspondence and clinical documentation that it learned the patterns, just like you learn the patterns of, say, every dental plan that you accept, right? The difference is AI does not know your specific practice. It does not know your doctor. It does not know that you are out of network with United, but maybe in network with Delta and Cigna. It does not know how your doctor likes to communicate. It knows the general patterns. Only you know the specifics. That is why the two of you together are more powerful than either one alone. The knowledge is still yours. AI just delivers it faster. And that's really the whole principle. I want you to read that back to yourself. The knowledge is still yours. AI delivers it faster. So, with that said, why does AI feel so generic when most people use it? Okay. Why do 83% of the people we surveyed in our group said that they walked away frustrated? Here's why. AI does not know your practice. It does not know your doctor's communication style. It does not know your payer mix, right? Doesn't know any of that stuff. Okay. And the reality is that your doctor signs everything formally and never by first name, right? It doesn't know that your practice has a warm conversational tone. It does not know that maybe you don't use clinical, or maybe you use clinical jargon in patient facing letters. It doesn't know anything useful, really, honestly, until you tell it. So when you sit down and type, write me an appeal letter for a denied crown, the output is something written for really nobody. Because to AI, you are nobody yet. You've not given it context. You have not given it the information it needs to produce something specific to your practice. That is a foundation problem. It's not an AI problem. And this is the thing I really want you to take away from this section. Most people blame the tool when it gives them something generic. They say, AI doesn't work for me, right? AI is not useful for what I do. But honestly, that's like blaming the pen when the letter doesn't read well. The pen is not the problem. what you write with it is. So the fix is not a different AI tool. The fix is building the foundation that makes the tool you already have actually work, which is 100% fixable. And that is exactly what today is going to show you. So here is the fix, okay? And we're going to build this together inside the certification, which I'll get more into later. But I want to give you a preview right now so you understand what the demos are about to show you. This is called a voice authority document. Okay, it's a one single reference document that tells AI everything it needs to know about your practice before you type one word of a prompt, okay, which is the initial conversation you start with AI. So here it talks about your doctor's communication style, how they sign letters, whether they are warm and neighborly, or maybe more formal and clinical. It has information like your payer mix, which plans are you in network with, which ones you appeal most often, what clinical language works for each payer, your tone, how your team handles difficult conversations, what goes in every patient communication, what never goes in it, right? All of it without a single piece of private health information, which is important to understand as well. You build this document once, you feed it to your AI tool, and from that moment on, your AI already knows your practice before you ask it the first question. You stop starting from scratch every time. You stop getting the generic output that many of you are seeing. Your AI then speaks your practice's language because you taught it your practice's language. Okay? Think about what changes. So instead of typing a full paragraph of context every time you open up ChatGPT, and you just say, write an appeal letter for denied D2740 on tooth number 19, Delta Dental, right? And it already knows the rest. It already knows your doctor, it knows your tone, it knows your payer, your framework, because that is all in the document that you build. And now this is what we build together in Module 4, which we'll get into um, with your actual practice information, and it's yours to keep. But right now, I want to show you what a difference context makes, because I could tell you about this for another 10 minutes and it would not hit the same way as just watching it happen in real time. So we're going to get into now the live demo. So bear with me for a second as I switch over to that screen. Okay, so we have the live demo here screen. By show of hands, can everyone see the ChatGPT screen right now? Perfect, perfect, beautiful. Okay, great. All right, love it, love it. All right, guys. What we have here, I want you to watch this closely, okay? Here's what most people do when they sit down to write an insurance appeal letter. They write something like, write me an insurance appeal letter for a denied crown. And then they put that in and they click it, and magical, right? ChatGPT, wow, look at that. It literally wrote everything here. Beautiful. The problem with this is if you read it, it's not specific. Let's take a little glance at what it wrote. Dear Appeals Department, I'm writing to formally appeal the denial of coverage for the dental crown procedure performed on tooth number, date of service, denial stated. The crown was required due to, right, and a bunch of blanks here. Enclosed are copies of the dental records, radiographs, and treatment plan provided by doctor, which clearly demonstrate the necessity of crown rather than a less extensive restoration. Given the documented medical necessity, I request that you reconsider and approve the crown procedure. Prompt approval will prevent further oral healthcare complications. Now it says here, your name, relationship to patient. I don't get this. But the big problem I see here is that it's not specific. So you can give ChatGPT any prompt, that's called a prompt, any prompt that you want. The problem is that it's not detailed, it's not specific, it's not speaking your language. And we know that when we do appeal letters, we need to be very specific. And so that is an example of what's called a weak prompt. Now, I'm going to show you what a good prompt looks like. And a good prompt has context behind it. So we're going to get a little bit more into this coming up, but a good prompt has detail behind it. And what that looks like is, here's more context. You are a dental office manager. D2740 on tooth number 19. Denied as not necessary by Delta Dental. Clinical findings included, keep it under 200 words, no PHI, and the results specific, professional, clinically grounded, and ready to send. Now, we're giving it a role to play. We are giving AI a role, and that's part of the prompting process. Now, here we have a lot more detail. This is what the insurance company is going to understand. And the best part is you don't have to spend 45 minutes sitting there refining it because it has much more context. So there's a certain standard to entering what's called a prompt. The first one is role. The second one is context. And we'll get into the rest later. But you can see the difference between a very generic prompt. And so the way AI works is it only works based on the context that you give it. And so if the biggest thing here is we can say AI is the problem. We could say that it doesn't work. We could say that it's generic. But AI only understands based on what we give it. So let's take a look here. We'll look back at what we got the second time around. And this is a much more cleaner appeal letter that it drafted. We're submitting this appeal regarding the denial of coverage for a crown. Tooth number 19 exhibited deep decay, approaching the pulp, marginal breakdown of existing restoration. Placement of a full crown on this tooth is consistent with the standard of care recommended by the American Dental Association. We can see the difference in the detail. And that is the thing with AI, is it has to have enough detail in order to give you the output that you're looking for. So that is our live demo of the Crown Appeal. That is going to be our first demo. Our second demo, it's going to be interesting because I'm sure a lot of you here may have experienced this sometime this week. And in fact, I saw it this morning in our group that one of the members in our group actually had this exact situation happen in their practice and they were looking for advice. And let's go on to the second one here. Now, before we do, just want to touch again. This here is the example of the weak prompt, write an insurance PO letter for a denied crown. The result was generic. There was no clinical language, no CDT code, no mention of medical necessity. And then here is the proper prompt. So this here was the correct way to request your output from AI. So live demo 2, I'm sure some of you have experienced this maybe sometime this week, last week, or who knows, maybe within the month. 2 employees are not speaking, right? How many times have we had that happen in the office? I know I've had it quite a few times. So 2 employees are not speaking. The dentist has made it your problem, and a conversation is needed by Friday. You got to put out that fire. I want you to watch what changes when the prompt is structured correctly. And again, the principle here is the knowledge is yours. AI helps you say it well. So here we have our 2 prompts. We have the weak prompt, which is help me deal with 2 employees who are not getting along, right? Very generic. And the structured prompt gives more context, right? You are helping, looks like I'm missing the Y there. You are helping a dental office manager at a periodontal practice who needs to mediate a conflict. My hygienist and my lead dental assistant are arguing about instrument sterilization responsibility. This has come up twice in the last month. My goal is resolution and to rebuild the working relationship. I need scripts for individual conversations with each person and a joint conversation to bring them together. The hygienist tends to shut down when confronted directly, so the approach should be collaborative, not accusatory. Okay. So let's take a look here and see what happens when we enter those two prompts. Now, here's our first generic prompt. Help me deal with two employees who are not getting along. Okay. I can guide you through this with a structured approach. Conflict between employees can escalate quickly if not addressed carefully. So it's best to handle it early, fairly, with clear boundaries. Here's what it says. Assess the situation. Meet individually. Identify the root cause. Bring them together. Develop a plan. Follow up. Know when to escalate. Right? Now that's great. That's wonderful. Right? Thanks for giving me the advice of kind of what I was already expecting to do. But how about we try the much more detailed prompt and give it more context? Now, the role for the AI is that it's helping a dental office manager, right? At a periodontal practice who needs to mediate a conflict. We're giving it the role and we're giving it the context. Let's see what the output looks like. Well, look at there. Look at that. It actually gave us a conversation with the hygienist. Here's your script one. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk. I wanted to check in about the recent concerns. Now, you don't have to follow this word for word, but it's great that you have this outline there for you that is much more tailored to what you need, to what you were looking for in the first place, right? And look at what it did here, individual conversation with the lead dental assistant, right? And then moving on to a joint conversation mediation. It's wonderful. It really gives you much more context when you give it the role. Okay. So going back to role context, right? That is what we need to remember when we are asking AI for certain things. You have to give it a role and you have to give it the context. That is the most important start. There's also things like guardrails and things like that we'll get into, but that somewhat fixes the issue of getting generic output. It is how you prompt AI. Now, let's go back to our screen here. So, what you just watched, it's not the technology, right? It's a skill demonstration. That's really what I showed you guys. Because the reality is it's the same principle, same lesson, just a different scenario, right? A weak prompt gives you something that belongs in a generic like handbook, right? It really could apply to any industry, any situation. But a structured prompt gives you something that understands your practice, your clinical environment, your people, and really your specific goal, and that is the skill. So that is what we build into the certification. And I want you to notice something. In both of those demos, I already knew what I needed. I knew the CDT code, I knew the clinical findings, I knew the hygienist communication style, I knew the goal. AI didn't know any of that, right? And I brought that to AI. So your dental expertise is the ingredient that makes AI output actually usable. Because without your knowledge behind the prompt, it's completely worthless. So with your knowledge behind it, it's more of a tool that multiplies everything you can do. So let's move on. Okay. So now that we covered the live demos, I just want you guys to understand. I want you to take away from those two demos. The reality is it's all about how we talk to AI, but it matters because our dental expertise is really the entire thing, right? Without us having that dental expertise, AI is going to continue giving you back generic output every single time. Every single time. Okay. Now, I want to tell you what I built. This is AI ready. Okay. Level one of the dental AI standard. the first AI certification built specifically for dental office managers and dental teams. I want to be clear about what I mean when I say specifically for dental teams. I do not mean there is a dental themed graphic on the homepage. Every scenario in the certification is a real dental scenario. Every prompt you build is a dental prompt, and every skill you develop maps directly to a task you're probably already doing in your practice every day, like the insurance appeals, pre auth narratives, patient reactivation messages. Maybe you're building SOPs, you're having communication with your team, maybe you're having morning huddles, really all of it, right? And so, built inside the context of the work you actually do. So this is not for tech people, it's not for consultants who talk about AI from the outside, right? This is for the people who are actually running the practice every single day, for the office managers, treatment coordinators, billing coordinators, front desk professionals who carry more responsibility than sometimes their titles suggest, and more knowledge than sometimes their paycheck reflects. So you earn a real credential. And let me be very specific about what that means. It's not a certificate of completion that gets emailed to you after you watch 6 videos. Okay. This is a verified digital badge, the same credentialing platform used by professional certification bodies across healthcare and technology. It's a verifiable standard. It lives on your profile on LinkedIn. You can put it in your signature. It shows up in your certification section on every profile and every job application, every connection request, right? It's not a certificate of completion. It's a verifiable standard that you met. And there's 6 modules, which are weekly live sessions with me. There's a private community away from the Facebook group, and there's tools that you build and keep, and a credential really that belongs to you and not your practice. So if you change jobs tomorrow, let's just say, it comes with you. If you open your own consulting business, it comes with you. If you apply for a position at a DSO, it comes with you. The point is that the certification is yours. Now, here's something I want you to see before I show you what level 3 looks like, because I do have more to share with you about more ChatGPT fun stuff. So I'm going to show you in a second. But here's something I want you to see before I show you what level 3 really looks like. AI Ready is level 1. That is where you start. There are 6 modules, which is a real credential, the foundation every dental professional needs before anything else. That is where you are today if you join this cohort. Level 2 is AI Operator. That is for the manager who has completed level 1 and is ready to lead AI implementation across the practice. Not just using AI yourself, building actual systems, training your team, creating the protocols that make AI sustainable across every role in the office, owning the process at the practice level. Level 3 is AI-driven dental leader. That is the highest credential in dental AI. For the professional who does not just use AI and does not just lead AI implementation, they actually architect how their entire organization runs with AI. There's custom tools, custom systems, a practice built around AI from the ground up. So you're not signing up for all 3. I'm not asking you to. You're starting where you need to start, which is where everyone starts, at the foundation. But I want you to see where this goes, because what I'm about to show you is what level 3 actually looks like in a real dental practice, okay? And it is going to change how you see what is really possible, okay? So let me pull up ChatGPT one more time for you guys, and I want you to be able to see this here. Let's see, there go the technical difficulties. Give me one sec, guys. Okay, so by a show of hands, who sees the ChatGPT screen? Perfect. All right, everyone's still with me. I love it. All right, so this here, I want to show you this because this is what level 3 looks like. Okay, this is completely different. Something that represents what is possible when someone has gone through all three levels of the dental AI standard and actually built a real system around their practice. This is not what you get on day one. I need you to hear that clearly before I show you this. But what I'm about to show you took 3 years of working with AI inside the real dental practice. It took going through everything you are about to go through in the certification, then building on top of it. And this is the destination, not the starting point, right? So this here was built specifically for New York City periodontics. Okay, this is a practice that I actually manage in New York City. This understands the payer mix. It knows that we see a lot of Delta Dental PPO patients. It knows that Delta Dental requires specific clinical language, right, around the periodontal practice, specifically periodontal staging, grading, to approve osseous surgery appeals. It knows the CDT codes for periodontal procedures. It knows the difference between United Healthcare, what they need to see versus what Cigna needs to see. It asks the right clinical questions before it drafts anything. It does not guess, it does not assume. It collects the specific information it needs to produce the output that is actually ready to send. And it produces that output in the voice of New York City Periodontics, not a general dental office, specific practice. Okay. So I want you to see here that we have 4 options sitting here waiting for us. Okay. And these are where you start. They're called conversation starters. Okay. And what we can do here is we can just click and say, let's do, I need to write an appeal letter for denied procedure. Actually, let's start with the other one. I need help with a team conflict at the practice. So instead of you having to type in all of the context, giving it the role in the context, here we can answer by number. So we can say, it's asking us, okay, roles involved, which team members are involved? Hygienist and dental assistant? Sure, why not? Sounds fun. Nature of conflict, right? Which describes the conflict. Is it a disagreement over job responsibilities or task ownership? Yeah, let's just say it's a disagreement over job responsibilities or task ownership. Okay, before I move on to the next step, can you give me 1 or 2 sentences? Sure, we'll use this example before. We'll say a hygienist does not, or we could just keep it simple. Hygienist thinks DA needs to clean her instruments. And I'm only using that because I saw that today in our group. So no offense to anyone. It's just I'm pulling that example from something that I saw today. Okay, what is your goal? My goal would be to, let's say we want to document the issue, right? Let's document the issue formally for HR purposes. So we're going to type number 3. Has this issue come up before? Yeah, it has. Yes, it is a recurring issue. Now, what type of scripts do we need? Individual conversations, joint conversation, individual first, then joint. Let's just do a written warning. How about that? Let's just jump right into it. Any additional context? No, I don't think there's anything else I need to give. We're going back to context, right? Giving it the details. We'll just say, no, pretty much I've provided everything. Okay, here we go. So here is our formal written warning. Would you like to make any changes? I think it looks pretty good. Clear role, right? Our goal is to maintain collaborative, respectful. Yeah, pretty much covers everything here. It's a written documentation. Would you like to make any changes? Nope, I am done. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I'm going to say, no, I'm all set. And then it's going to come back and say, have a great rest of your day, Kyle. Remember, the knowledge is still yours. AI just helps deliver it faster. See you next time. Now, what I showed you was that's level 3, right? Where we build out a full system for your dental practice without using any patient health information whatsoever. And that's what it looks like, level 3, right? So level 3 is the AI-driven dental leader. That's what it looks like in your practice. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because I think there's a version of you watching this right now who just saw what is possible and feels maybe 2 things at once. Maybe you're excited and maybe a little overwhelmed, and that's okay. That is exactly how I felt 3 years ago when I started figuring all this AI stuff out. You're not here to get that. You're here really to just start building the foundation that makes something like that possible, one step at a time, starting with the foundation and starting with AI ready, starting today. This is what you could achieve once you reach the AI driven dental leader. But with that said, I want to tell you specifically what changes, right? When you complete the certification, because I don't want you to walk away from this webinar with a vague sense that AI could be useful someday. I want you to walk away knowing exactly what you're going to be able to do that you cannot do right this moment. If you're an office manager, you will draft insurance appeals letters in under 5 minutes with the clinical language that actually gets reviewed by a human, right, at the insurance company, not the automated denial, because that's how most are occurring right now. You'll build pre-auth narratives that include the clinical findings payers need to approve on the first submission, right? Not the second, not after denial, then an appeal. The first time, you'll write patient reactivation messages that feel personable and get responses because they're tailored to how long the patient has been gone and what their last visit was. You'll create SOPs, training documents for new hires without spending an entire weekend on it. Okay. If you're a treatment coordinator, you'll build patient communication scripts tailored to the procedure, the patient's history, and the doctor's communication style. So the conversation feels like it came from your practice and not from a script. You'll draft financial conversation guides that address the objections before they come up because you already know what objections that procedure generates. If you're a billing coordinator, you'll build appeal letters for specific denial reasons with the right clinical justification every time. Okay, not a template you pulled from the internet, a letter built for that specific procedure, that specific payer, and that specific denial reason. You'll draft pre-auth narratives that match what each payer needs to see because you will know what each payer needs to see. Every single one of these skills is built inside the certification. Not This is not being taught in theory, right? This is built with your actual practice scenarios. So by the time you graduate, you have already done it. You've already drafted the appeal letter. You already built the SOP. You have already created communication script. The graduation is not the beginning, it's the confirmation. So I really, and when I was doing this, it actually cracked me up. But let me show you what a day actually looks like before and after, right? Before AI ready, it's 8 in the morning. You got in early. You always get in early. The appeal letters from yesterday are probably still sitting on your desk. You know what they need to say. You know the clinical argument. You know which payer this is going to, but you have not had the time to write them. You grab a coffee and hope you get 15 minutes before the phones start ringing off the hook. At 9 o'clock, patient calls asking about their pre-auth status. It was submitted last week. You wrote the narrative in 5 minutes at the end of the long day when you were running on empty. Okay. You're not confident it had all the clinical detail that the payer needs to see. And you're waiting and hoping. At 11, a new hire started Monday. 3 days in, she's still figuring things out. You're training her from memory because the SOPs are in your head and you don't have the time to train. They're not on paper. They're not in a document that she can refer back to. They're in your head. And every time she has a question, who does she come to? She comes to you. And every time she comes to you, you have to stop what you're doing. Okay. At 2 in the afternoon, your reactivation list is sitting in the system. Maybe there's 40 names. I don't know. Maybe there's 100 names or more. Patients who've not been back in over a year. And some of them are ready to come in. Maybe a personal message would get a response, but personalizing 40 messages or more at a single time is not happening today. That takes time. Okay, it wasn't happening yesterday. And it's on the list, and the list does not get shorter. We know that everything piles up on us. And at 5 o'clock, it's time to leave, right? Because you've had enough. Later than you planned, so maybe stay a little bit later, right? Sometimes we do that. But you end up with a to-do list that is longer than when you started. And tomorrow we will all do it over again. Okay. Now, after AI ready, here's an example. It's 8 in the morning. You open the AI tool you built in Module 4. It already knows your practice. You brief it on the denial, the procedure code, the payer, the clinical findings. 2 sentences. 4 minutes later, you have a complete appeal letter, specific, clinical, formatted for that payer. You print it, you move on. At 9, a patient calls about their pre-auth, the narrative you submitted last week. Use the clinical findings. Okay, the templates you built. Specific, payer formatted, submitted complete the first time. You tell the patient is under review and that you will follow up. You're confident in what was submitted. At 11, your new hire is working through the SOP you built in 15 minutes using AI. It covers every step of the process in the voice of your dental practice. She has questions, but there are specific questions about maybe lab cases, okay, not basic procedural questions. She's getting up to speed faster because the document exists. At 2, you spend 25 minutes in AI building a personalized reactivation campaign for the 40 or more patients on your list, grouped by how long they've been gone, personalized by their last procedure. Not 40 individual messages written by hand, right? A smart campaign that's built in less time than it took for you to draft it. At 5, you leave on time. The list is shorter than when you started. Same role, same practice, same team, but a completely different capacity. So, here is what I want you to hear. Okay? This is not about what you learn, it is about who you become. I've been dental manager for over 2 decades. The thing that I have watched happen over and over again is that the people who carry the most knowledge in a practice are often the least visible in the conversations about the practice's future. The office manager who knows every payer inside out, who could write an appeal letter that gets reversed, who knows which patients to call and what to say to get them back in the chair, who manages conflict before it becomes a crisis. That person is often invisible in the conversations about compensation, about leadership, about growth. Not because she or he is not valuable, but because there's no way to point to that value in a room where everyone is talking about production numbers and overhead percentages. A credential changes that. Before AI ready, you're reacting to everything. You're writing every letter from scratch. You're spending your best hours on tasks that could take minutes. No credential could point to. Invisible in conversations about your own career. When AI adoption comes up in a staff meeting, nobody looks to you for the answer because you have not claimed that space yet. After AI ready, you are the person in the room who knows how to use AI in a dental context, who knows how to build systems around it, who knows where the boundaries are and how to stay on the right side of HIPAA, most importantly, while still getting real productivity out of the tool. You walk into a salary conversation with something to point to, not a feeling, not a track record that only exists in your own memory, a verifiable credential from a standard built specifically for this industry. And when the dentist asks who's going to lead AI adoption in this practice, the answer is already you. Not because you volunteered, because you prepared. The knowledge was always yours. AI Ready gives you the system to use it faster and the credential to prove it. That is not a transformation, right? It's not a course, it's a standard that you met. Now, every AI Ready graduate earns a digital badge through Credly, which is verified. It's portable, it's permanently yours. And let me tell you what that actually looks like in a practice. You add it to your email signature right below your name and title. Every email you send, every message to a patient, every communication with a payer, every email to a vendor or a consultant or a study club. The people you work with see that badge and they know you hold a verified AI credential from a recognized standard in dental. Before you even walk into the room, you can add it to your LinkedIn certification section. It shows up on every profile view, every job application, every time someone searches your name, every connection request. It's a permanent signal that you took this seriously and you can prove it. And here's the thing I really want you to hear. The credential belongs to you. It really doesn't belong to your practice, not to your dentist. It really belongs to you. If your doctor sells the practice next year and you need to find a new position, you take it with you. If you decide to go independent and do your own thing, dental consultant, you take it with you. If you get recruited by a DSO who's looking for someone to lead their AI implementation across multiple locations, which is happening, you take it with you. It's yours. You earned it and it stays with you. here's exactly what you're signing up for. I'm going to be specific because I know you're going to write some of this down and I want you to have the right dates. This is not a course, this is a credential. The welcome kickoff call is Friday, April 10th, which is this Friday at 1 p.m. Okay, Eastern time. That's 2 days from today. That is where the founding cohort comes together for the first time. You're going to meet the other people who were in this room today and made the decision. We're going to set the tone for the next 6 weeks and make sure everyone is set up and ready to go. There's 6 modules delivered weekly starting Monday, April 13th. Every Monday, a new module drops. You work through it on your own schedule during the week. The content is recorded so you can go at whatever pace works for you. But the live sessions happen every week, so you'll need to keep pace. Weekly live sessions are every Friday starting April 17th. Okay, that is the first live session of Module 1. That's next Friday, the 17th at 1 p.m. That's 6 live sessions over 6 weeks every Friday, where you bring your questions, you bring your real scenarios, you bring the denial you got this week that you don't know how to send an appeal for, and we work through it together in real time. You're also going to get a 25 dental specific prompt pack, which unlocks in Module 2 on April 21st. Not day 1, but Module 2, because I want you to have the foundation for Module 1 before you get the prompts. Otherwise, you'll use them without understanding why they work and how they work. Understanding why they work is what makes you dangerous. So you also get the private community access with the Founding AI Ready members. It's not our Facebook group. It's a dedicated private community inside the platform where you share prompts, strategies, scenarios, and wins with other people who are in this with you. Your AI Ready certificate and your DAISR digital badge through Credly, which is verified and LinkedIn ready, yours the moment you graduate. And if we go over the 6 weeks, graduation is May 22nd. AI Ready is level 1. You complete it and you unlock the path to AI operator and AI driven dental leader. This is the beginning of something, not a one-time event. So here's module 1 through 3. We have module 1 with AI actually is in dentistry, module 2 insurance communication, module 3 which is HIPAA, PHI, and AI compliance. Module 4 through 6 is the tool build session that we're going to build out some customized tools for your practice, and also evaluating the AI software that's already out there that a lot of vendors are talking about. And then module 6 is becoming the AI leader. With that being said, I just want to jump in here and go over this slide, which is the founding cohort offer. Okay. So I'll break this down for you. And the founding cohort offer is this: there are 50 founding seats. Okay. That is all that we can allow to participate in the founding cohort. A lot of this is very involved, especially in the live sessions. And so we have to keep it small. And that is the reason why there's 50 founding seats. Okay. That's it. Not 100, not 200, 50, because the founding cohort really matters. The first group of people who build this with me set the tone really for everything that comes after. And I want 50 people who are serious, who are going to show up, who are going to do the work, and who share what they are building in the community, right? 50 is what I'm taking. So the founding price is $297. That's it. $297 for the full certification of 6 modules and 6 live sessions. The voice authority document build, the prompt pack, the community, the certificate, the badge, all of it. After this cohort closes, the price is going up to $497. That's $297. That is the early decision, and that is what it means really to be a founding member, because there's no exceptions after this closes. When it closes, and that is how the founding cohort works. Now here's everything that is included. I'm going to run through this one more time. 6 modules delivered weekly starting April 13th. Weekly live sessions every Friday at 1 p.m. starting April 17th. The welcome kickoff call is this Friday, which means you have to take action by Friday at 1 p.m. Private founding community access, 25 dental specific prompt pack, AI ready certificate, and your DISR digital badge. Also doing a 14-day money back guarantee. And I feel, why not, right? If you get through the first 2 weeks and this is not exactly what you needed, I'll return every dollar. There's no questions, no fine print, no back and forth, just a full refund because I'm confident enough what I built that I'm willing to put that on the table. So the link is dentalaistandard.com. You can visit that link and I can even put it in the chat for you guys. That way you have access to it, but you could also write it down or type it down. It's Dental AI Standard. And that is where you can take a look and you can take a moment to look around the website and get a little bit more info if you need it. Go there, register, and all you got to do is pay that $297 and you're in. That's the founding cohort. Kickoff is April 10th. So if you're there from day one, great. And here's what I want you to think about for a second before you decide. 6 weeks from now, you're going to be in one of two places. You're going to be someone who went through this certification, who has a voice authority document built around your practice, who has a prompt library that actually works in your dental context, who has a credential you can put on your LinkedIn profile and your email signature, who is the AI leader in your dental practice, who is 6 weeks ahead of everyone who watched this webinar and did not make a move. Or you're going to be in the same place you are right now, knowing AI matters, intending to figure it out, waiting for the right moment, which is a moment that does not come on its own. That's the decision. It's not the $297. That's really a small number compared to what this positions you for. The decision is whether you're going to be the person who moved when the moment was there or not. And the link is in the chat. But if you have a question about certification, go ahead and drop it in the chat. If you have a question about AI and how it applies to something specific you're dealing with in your practice, you can drop that too. If you have a denial scenario you've been stuck on and you want to see how I would approach it in a prompt, that is what this next few minutes is for. All right, so before I go, we got a question here. So how long is each session on Fridays? Each session is 1 hour, 60 minutes of your time, and it will be recorded. So even if you're not there, it's in our private community and you can watch it on your time. Okay. And what you could do is when we have the next live session, or you do get access and you can post your questions in our private community, I will answer within 48 hours to any question that you may have on something. Maybe you weren't able to attend it and you have questions after. I'm happy to walk you through that. But you will be able to ask questions in the community and you'll be able to watch the replay. Okay. All right, guys. Before I let you go, I want you to leave with one thought. AI is coming into your practice whether you plan for it or not. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm really not. I'm saying it because it's true, and pretending otherwise really does not serve you or anyone else. The technology is already in the hands of our patients. The only question is whether you are the one leading that engagement or watching someone else do it, right? So you were in the room today, and that tells me something. You showed up. You spent more than an hour with me. You watched the demos, you saw what is possible, and you're still here at this very end. That tells me you're someone who takes this seriously. Again, guys, the link is still in the chat, Dental AI Standard. 50 founding seats, closes when they fill. There's no extensions, no exceptions. The knowledge is still yours. AI delivers it faster. Thank you guys for being here with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. One last thing before we go. My email is here, and so is my cell phone number. So if you would like to text me, you have my number. You can ask me any questions you have regarding the certification, any questions about AI that I might be able to help you with. I am more than happy to help and mentor you along the way in this process. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye.